So now we're going to take a look at adding and subtracting rational expressions. So whenever we have two rational expressions and we want to add or subtract them, what we need to do is we can begin, as always, by factoring the numerator and denominator. Then we're going to find the LCD of the expressions, and the LCD is the lowest common denominator. After that, we'll multiply the expressions by some form of 1 that changes the denominators to that lowest common denominator, and then we can add and subtract the numerator since we have the same denominator. So these rules are very similar to what we did with regular fractions, so it's not going to change. So here's an example. We have 6 over x squared plus 4x plus 4 minus 2 times x squared minus 4. Our first step is to factor. So we can't factor the numerators, but we can factor our denominators. So we factor, so we can have our denominator becomes x plus 2 squared. You can write them out next to each other, but since we're multiplying by the same thing, we can put squared. And then our denominator for x squared minus 4 becomes x plus 2 times x plus 2. So now that everything's factored, we can think about our lowest common denominator. So our lowest common denominator will be x squared plus 2 times x minus 2. So just a little trick we're just trying to figure out. You can multiply the two denominators together, but we notice here this term is missing one x plus 2, so if we multiply this by x plus 2, we'll at least have that same component. And this term right here is missing an x minus 2. So what we just tried to do is combine the two. We wanted to make sure both of them had all features. So both had an x plus 2 squared and both had that x minus 2 term. In order to make this have a common denominator, we need to multiply, right? If we multiply the bottom by x minus 2, we must multiply the top by x minus 2. And same thing over here, we're missing an x plus 2 term. So if we multiply the denominator by x plus 2, we must also multiply the top by x plus 2. And that's what you're seeing right here. So we're multiplying both to get that lowest common denominator. So we're going to go ahead and multiply. And now we see that we have both denominators are x plus 2 squared times x minus 2. And then we've also multiplied in our numerators. So our numerators are now more complex. And now that we have a common denominator, we can perform the subtraction. We can just subtract our numerators. So we're going to go ahead and subtract. And actually, this skipped a step, but we would have, oh, they distributed. I see what they did. So they just distributed and subtracted. So they did 6 times x, which is 6x, 6 times negative 2, which is negative 12, and then minus, and then 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 2 is 4. So we're just subtracting the two numerators right here. So now we can simplify this even further by combining like terms. So our 6x minus 2x gives us the 4x, and our negative 12 minus 4 gives us negative 16. And now we're going to see if we can simplify this any further. When I look at this, I notice that both terms are multiples of 4. So I'm wondering if I can somehow factor out that 4, if it will even do anything for me. And I can always try that. So I factor out the 4, and then I'm left with x minus 4. But it wasn't particularly helpful. I factored it out. I don't have an x minus 4 term in both the numerator and denominator, and it didn't give me that x plus 2 or x minus 2. So since all of our terms are different, this is as simple as we can make it, and we would stop right here. So now I want you to try this process with this example.